everybody, it's Callie, and today I have another reaction video for you. So recently I've seen that there is a clip of Jenna Ortega talking a little bit about her OCD floating around for a little while now, so I think I just want to watch it and talk about it and see where it goes. I can remember a number of celebrities over the years coming forward and disclosing that they have OCD or talking about their OCD symptoms or whatever their struggles are. And I always have this kind of not love-hate reaction with that. That's not really the right word, but this, I guess, juxtaposition of how I react to that. On the one hand, I'm like, wow, this person in this way is just like me and they know this struggle. But at the same time and in the same token, in a weird way, I'm like, oh, this poor person is just like me and they know the struggle. So I'm kind of, I'm in between being grateful that I'm like, hey, I can relate to this, but I'm also kind of bummed. I'm like, oh man, that means this person has been through it. So it's kind of, it's hard. It's a tough thing. Everybody that has gone through this knows that it's really not exactly a cakewalk. So my heart goes out to anybody that struggles with this kind of stuff because, like I said, I know that it is not fun. All right, so on that note, I have it queued up and let's get started.
It's quite difficult because we're always traveling for work and it's always a new environment, and whatever the job is, you kind of have to create a new routine that you can only really stick to for 6 weeks because then you're off to the next one. I too feel the need to go to bed around 8 p.m., 8:30, but I don't because it's the only time I can get things done. Also, when I'm tired, I have pretty intense OCD, so I have a lot of, that's kind of my routine in terms of repetitive thoughts and counting.
I think it's really interesting that just in this short, 25 seconds so far of this clip, she's already mentioned routines twice, but in a different way each time. So the first one, she's kind of talking about your daily routine, like what you're going through. She's saying that, it's tough in the industry that she's in. You can only have your set routine for a very short time before you're going somewhere else. You have to change up your routine. You have to switch things up, which I think is hard for a lot of people. OCD or not, I think a lot of people struggle with this disruption in their routine. So I could see how that would be hard, again, whether you have OCD or not. But then she's also talking about the telltale OCD routine. So that's like the dreaded one that so many of us are a little bit more familiar with than we would like to be, probably. So let me jump back a few seconds and see what she has to say about this routine.
That's kind of my routine in terms of repetitive thoughts and counting everything multiple times and having to do the same action over and over. So sometimes my nights consist of like just being really exhausted and going up and down the stairs 6 times because I think that's what I need to do to make sure nobody breaks into my home.
Does that sound familiar to anybody? Because that certainly sounds familiar to me. I mean, that reminds me not so much, if her thing is going up and down the stairs, I get it. There's innumerable ways that people are having their OCD routines. And really what she's kind of mentioning here is actually a compulsion, going up and down the stairs so that it mitigates the fear of like, oh, well, someone might break into my home if I don't do that. I remember so many times my bedroom, being upstairs in my parents' house, when I would have to come down the stairs, I don't know, like a dozen times a night. I'd have to come down and check that the door was locked. Not so much because I was so afraid of somebody breaking in, but the huge trail of everything else that somebody breaking in would mean. Like all these other things. It wasn't just that, oh yeah, somebody could break into my house and take something, or somebody, could break into my house and whatever. It was, what if somebody breaks into the house and the dogs escape and they get, run over, or they get lost or something, they get outside and I can't find them? Or what if somebody breaks in, obviously, and, hurts somebody in my family? What if somebody breaks in and all these other things happen? What if XYZ, fill in that what if with whatever you're afraid is going to happen. And there were other thoughts, obsessive thoughts or compulsions that I had that were kind of in the same vein. It was very similar when I would, think, oh, well, what if I left the stove on and I'd have to go back, I'd be out somewhere and I'd have to go back home because I wanted to check that I turned the stove off. Sometimes I didn't even use the stove and I would be like, but what if it's on? So I would have to go home because it wasn't just like, oh, I left the stove on and yeah, that's dangerous, something bad could happen. It's like, I left the stove on and because of that, this tragic thing is going to happen. It seems like it's 100%, it's for absolute certain that this bad thing is going to happen. My house is going to burn down. My pets are going to die. I'm going to lose all my family possessions and memories or whatever the thing is. There's this like catastrophic snowball type thinking where it's not just like, oh, I left the door unlocked. That was really dangerous. I'm never going to do that again. Or, oh, I left the stove on. Whoops. Oh my God, that was so dangerous. I'm so glad I caught it. Which, by the way, I never did any of those things because I never allowed myself any grace to like make any kind of mistake with that kind of a thing, which seems silly because of course nobody would ever do that on purpose. But it's just, it's this weird thing where you say, okay, well, this is the one time that this happened. If I go back and check 999 times, but that 1,000th time, I don't check it. I don't check that I locked the door. I don't check that I turned off the stove. It's gonna be that 1,000th time that I lose everything, or that everything is going to go wrong and everything is going to just end up awfully. And it's my fault because I was lax that one time. So man, I resonate with that a lot. That sounds very much like my experience. So let's see what else she has to say.
I'm trying to meditate, and that's been a little bit of a learning curve, but I'm getting quite good at it now, and I think I have to start my day that way. Otherwise, I don't know, it explains kind of my anxiety in recent years, so it's been nice to kind of deal with that in a peaceful manner.
So meditation and mindfulness for OCD is something that has been recommended, and I know that it's something that helps a lot of people. It's nice that she mentions that. I try really hard to be mindful and live in the present moment, but anybody that has OCD knows that that is really difficult to do. But that is a key thing that we should be doing. I mean, it's easy to live in the past. It's easy to live in the future. It's easy to live in some other time. Like in the past, you're saying, oh, but what if I had just done this thing wouldn't have happened. Or what if I did something bad and I don't remember? If that's one of your, things where you're worried about false memories or whatever you're worried about. It's easy to live in the past that way. And then in the future, there's so many ways that you are worrying about what's going to happen or what you're doing wrong, or what if I do this thing, or what if this happens, how are we going to handle this, or whatever. It's so easy to live in those two time frames, but to just exist in this present moment and be present with what you're feeling right now and what's happening is sometimes so hard. It's so difficult to do that, to just be. That's something that I think ERP, or exposure and response prevention, is really helpful with, because you have to just learn to sit with that anxiety. And, if you're thinking about something that might happen in the future, you might say, yeah, well, okay, that's out of my control and there's nothing I can do about it right now. So I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to acknowledge what I'm feeling, and I'm going to say, okay, well, I feel anxious about it, and I'm accepting that, and I'm accepting that thought, I'm accepting that possibility, which is really hard to do. But again, ERP is something that helps get to that point. It's something that I feel like, again, it's another thing that whether you have OCD or not, for anybody that's really trying to just live in the moment and not get caught up in worrying about the future. Again, like I said, not even if it's an OCD type thing, if you're just worried about the future, or if you're thinking about the past and wishing you can go back and wishing you could change things, that doesn't help anybody. It especially doesn't help you, because you're putting all your energy into something that you just can't do. It's just not possible. We don't have a time machine yet. So we don't have that kind of capability. So why are we always so caught up in that? That's like the human condition, is just wanting to change the future, change the past, and forgetting that we're living right now. We're in this time right now. So what should we be doing right now? If this is something that you're interested in learning a little bit more about, NOCD would really be a good place to start with ERP. You can go to NOCD.com or treatmyocd.com today, and you can talk to a therapist that specializes in this kind of thing and is certified to help people with those thoughts that are just running a mile a minute, snowballing, and just you're thinking of all these catastrophic things except for what's happening in this moment right now. So if that's something that you are interested in, NOCD is the place to start. I'm glad that people are talking about it, as always. I'm glad that somebody with a huge platform, like a big celebrity, is talking about it in a way that I feel like is really relatable to a lot of people that have that experience. So again, don't forget to check out NOCD, and I'm gonna get going, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.